People are living longer, but fewer are being born. By 2050, the population of people over 65 will double. Turning 60 in the 21st century looks a lot different than it will soon. Estimates show that most people in the middle class today are at risk of poverty in retirement. Studies conclude that half of those who are in the middle class now, when they retire, they will have incomes at the poverty level. The percentage of people in personal bankruptcy once they are over 60 years old has been increasing alarmingly since 1990 globally. In America, there are many communities of nomads, people who cannot afford to pay rent in retirement, people who don't own property, and then they found this solution that you see here, to live the last part of life. For those in today's workforce, the outlook is even bleaker.
On my Social Security, it couldn't happen. You can come out here and eat if you want, come on. I'd rather have my little van with my little space, my dog, in the desert, and I'm perfectly happy with that.
For millennials, the prospects are that they will have complicated old ages. Let's see where we are and how it got here. So what's going on in France? In France, the pension system is in an almost funny situation. Given that in the world, the retirement age of 65 is no longer feasible, in France people retire at 62. And they are raising it to 64. So, not 65. In the 80s, Socialist President François Mitterrand raised the retirement age to 60 from 65. Since then, everyone who has followed has tried in one way to increase age. In '95, Jacques Chirac, the right-wing president, tried, but it was the same. Sarkozy then managed to take it to 62. Also from the right, Sarkozy. Still with protests and madness that lasted for months. Then, a socialist president appeared again, François Hollande, who didn't change anything, said to leave it as it is. Brussels urged Paris to initiate pension reform. But Hollande was like this: we don't let Brussels tell us what to do. At that time, France's budget deficit had to be brought below the 3% level. Not much was done with Hollande. And it was Macron's turn. In 2019, he tried to solve the problem of special pension regimes. Protests followed, then the pandemic began and the dust settled. Macron, in the election campaign, was honest and said, "We will increase the retirement age." On the other side, Le Pen was promising people that this was not the case. And here we are today, raising it up to 64 years and the obligation to work 43 years.
Do you want 64-year-old nurses to care for you in the hospital, Mr. Macron?
What I want is to prepare the end of people's careers. What you are touching upon, which is true, is that people have to work a bit longer because they start working a bit later.
The budget deficit in France is 9.4% of GDP. It doesn't seem like it can go on like this. He is Otto von Bismarck. On the one hand, he is a former chancellor of the German Empire from 1871 to 1890. The Germany's Angela Merkel, back when Germany was a bit of an empire. On the other hand, he is the one who made the social system we are still in, this one with people in power paying taxes from which the pensions of the retired are paid. It's called the Bismarck system. Of course, because he did it. The system was created by him precisely to stop movements like those we see in France. He tried to preserve social order by suppressing socialist and liberal movements. The Bismarck pension system emerged in the context of major social and economic changes in 19th century Germany. At the time, there were major problems with poverty and the social degradation of the elderly and those unable to work due to illness or disability. This was the case when this was decided. The world where this system solves things no longer exists. We live in another world. Life expectancy has increased, people's ability to be in power to a very old age has advanced, which means that the prospect of retirement exists less and less. We will have to work until the end. But the economy is made for young workers. The challenge will be to find a way to be useful for the times to come. The situation where you started a college at 18, you finished it at 22, after which the work you learned there for the next 40 years no longer exists. In the 19th century, the things you had to learn changed with industrialization. You were preparing for this world. We no longer live in that world. We will continue to explain things, we have just started work. Stay with us, so like, share, subscribe.